I'm Jim Hood, and it's been my honor to serve you over the past 4 years as your Attorney General. I'm seeking re-election, and I want to tell you a few things that we've accomplished over this period of 4 years. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, about where I grew up, and about my family. I grew up in a town called Holcomb, Mississippi, a little town of about 300 people in northeast Mississippi. I was baptized in the First Baptist Church of Holcomb, Mississippi, and I attended public schools there. After undergrad and graduating law school, I went to work in the Attorney General's office as an intern. I was a law clerk at our Mississippi Supreme Court. I served in the Attorney General's office after that for 5 years, where I ran the drug unit, prosecuting drug dealers all over the state of Mississippi. I was elected district attorney for the 7 counties in northeast Mississippi. Oxford was my main office. I served as district attorney for 8 years. I've been working as your Attorney General for the past 4 years, and we've had many accomplishments over that period. Let me tell you a little bit about my family so you'll understand some of the things that we worked on, so you'll understand where I have focused in areas. I have 3 wonderful children. I have a little girl who's 4 years old named Annabelle, a son who's 9, my namesake, Matthew, and my daughter Rebecca, who is 12. I have a loving wife who prays for us every morning, and we know the values of prayer, and we know the values of caring about families. One of the most recent battles that I have had as Attorney General have been in the area of dealing with sexual predators, and that's because I have young daughters. My daughter Rebecca was interested in the internet, and I started looking into MySpace.com and other social networking sites in which many sexual predators have focused. They're like sharks in the water on these sites. I talked to grandparents, I talked to parents, and many fear, just as I do, that some sexual predator may be online communicating with their 14-year-old daughter or granddaughter, and their granddaughter be back in the bedroom of their home. That fear drove me and 7 other attorneys general to enter into negotiations with MySpace.com. We've had some concessions from them, but those dangers are still there. They're still present. We're dealing with other sites like MySpace.com. This is the first I've encountered as a prosecutor, and I've been a prosecutor all my life in my professional career, in which parents know less about the problem than do the children. And children talk amongst themselves about what is going on the internet. My daughter, Rebecca, recently came to me and she wanted to get on a site called Bebo.com. And so she sent me a well-reasoned email as to why she should be able to get on it. She said all her friends can communicate on it. They talk to one another, and no sexual predators can get on it. Well, I took the time since she had done that, pulled up Bebo.com, and when I look on there, the first thing I see is a button flashing, "Are you a good flirt?" Of course, it was all over at that point. I was not going to let her get on there. So the battles that we've been in have been to protect our children from the dangers of those predators on the internet and to take off all of the child pornography that we're seeing on the internet. We've established a cybercrime unit in our office just a couple of months ago. That cybercrime unit is leading the nation. It's the first in the nation in which we house state, local, federal prosecutors and law enforcement, and we incorporate the assets of our universities and use those interns working in our labs to protect our children from the problems that are caused by child pornography. That unit has been very effective in prosecuting sexual predators, whether they be in the communities or whether or not they're working on the internet. In fact, we went to the legislature last year and passed the Adam Walsh Act in Mississippi. We added 2 things to that. One, making sexual predators who have been convicted, making it be placed upon their driver's license so people will know that they're sexual predators. We've also prohibited them from entering into school zones to keep our children safe in their schools. I've done a lot of work on school violence. We published a manual to educate teachers how to identify potentially violent children in their classrooms and giving them factors to consider and who to report it to. We've incorporated also the fact that children always know before school whether someone's going to bring a knife, or they're going to fight, or whether someone maybe even bringing a gun. So we've had to establish a protocol for reporting it to law enforcement so they can come in and intervene before it ever happens. In order to do that, we've had to encourage schools to place drop boxes so that kids can report it and not be seen as a tattletale. We've also worked with Crime Stoppers to place the 800 numbers in our schools so that law enforcement can learn about it and come in and intervene. We've also trained many law enforcement officers around the state to know how to intervene and know what to do when they come in to a situation where there's potential violence, be it in the workplace or be it in the schools. We've worked very hard in the area of elder abuse, whether it be the scams that are run on elderly people. They prey upon our elderly people because they have money, and many times they're at home, and the con artists reach them at home and pull off all of these schemes that they perpetrate over the phone. We've also protected our elderly in their own homes, be it from a family member that's stealing from them, fraud, or even the area of where an elderly person is abused. And we've sent many people to the penitentiary that have abused and taken advantage of our elderly. We've recently established a domestic violence unit in the Attorney General's office. We received a grant to establish this unit to make it so that those victims of domestic violence, we train our law enforcement officers by giving them booklets, so we put one in every car of every law enforcement officer in the state of Mississippi, so they know what to do, how to intervene, who to arrest, what profile factors to consider in case the spouse may be have potential for more violence. You know, we have to separate the situation, but we want to keep those families together. But in order to do that, you have to stabilize the situation. You have to make our courts more efficient so that we have one-stop shopping for protective orders to protect those families. We've worked a lot in the area of supporting law enforcement. You know, as a prosecutor, I know what law enforcement and prosecutors need out there. One recent bill that we passed in the legislature was the meth bill. That bill has reduced the number of meth lab busts in the state of Mississippi by 71%. It is by far the most effective single law enforcement bill that I have seen. You know, now you have to, when you go to a Quick Mart to purchase pseudoephedrine, a precursor to the manufacture of methamphetamine, you have to get it behind the counter. All we did was simply put it behind the counter, and that's reduced meth labs by 71%. Probably what's more important, though, it has protected our families. Our families are protected because those kids that are in those meth labs are subject to parts per million of brain-damaging chemicals. In fact, they did a study of a teddy bear, and they found all those chemicals that can cause brain damage of those children that are in those meth labs. And no longer do you hear about a trailer blowing up out in the country like we once did. We fought effectively for consumers for the state of Mississippi. In the areas of identity theft, we pursued identity thieves all over the state. We've worked with the U.S. Marshals Service in fighting home repair fraud that our citizens down on our coast have had to suffer after Katrina went through in trying to repair their homes with what they've had. In fact, recently we drug one home repair fraud artist out from under a house in Knoxville, Tennessee. We've effectively prosecuted the home repair fraud cases, and we've gone after the insurance companies that have tried to mislead our people on the coast. We've had to fight against big oil for the price gouging that occurred shortly after Hurricane Katrina on our coast. We fought in the areas to stop public corruption and corporate fraud. We've returned $168 million to the taxpayers of the state of Mississippi from big business, and be it WorldCom or big oil or big insurance. You know, I may be from a small town of Holcomb, Mississippi, but I do know that the power of the people of the state of Mississippi is behind me. And doing the right thing, right always wins out. In closing, I'd like to just tell you a few things I want you to kind of remember about where I come from. I've always been a prosecutor. I've never defended insurance companies or drug dealers. My life has been dedicated to enforcing the law. My father was a prosecutor. It runs in my blood. I believe in family. I know that my family is as near and dear to me as anything. And I know that your family is as near to you as anything. I like to work in my shop and fix things, and that's where I relax. That's what I enjoy, is fixing things, and I want to continue to do that as your Attorney General, and to protect the people of the state of Mississippi, and to protect your families and your parents. That's what an Attorney General does. No matter whether it's an issue of partisanship, it doesn't matter. When you're enforcing the law and doing the right thing, that's what my guide has been as Attorney General. That's what it will continue to be as your next Attorney General. I respectfully request for your help, your support, your phone calls to re-elect Jim Hood as your Attorney General. God bless you, and thank you.